Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we deepen our exploration and dialogue around the power of women and what kind of difference women can make in our world. Yesterday, we heard from mothers and grandmothers who are organizing a global campaign and petition to get women around the world to mobilize around a very specific purpose of stopping war. We're in a situation with Ukraine that has brought the world to its most dangerous moment, certainly since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, a war that is escalating day by day toward a nuclear exchange in Europe and possibly Russia and North America. And so what women, as women, can do to stop this mad march to oblivion is a critical issue of concern. Today, we want to deepen this exploration and look at the power of women. And as we noted yesterday, this question of what women, as women, can do is a very ancient conversation, dating back to ancient Greece, which is the first extant example in writing of this question. The Trojan Women, a play by the great Athenian playwright Euripides, asked that question as Andromache, the wife of Hector, the great hero of the Trojans, came together with a band of women and asked themselves, what could we do? What could they do to prevent war? And we have never satisfactorily answered that question, either as women or as the human community. And today, after 75 years since the Second World War of the emancipation of women, the question continues to be articulated. No one less than the Dalai Lama has contemplated this question, saying a number of years ago that not only would women be the transformative agent in the world, but that Western women, who are more resourced than most, had a critical role to play. And so we want to entertain this very deep question again today on Humanity Rising. Before we dive into this question, let us just pause, as we always do on our broadcasts, and just simply breathe coherently and consciously together. In a world of chaos, in a world where it seems that we can't quite get a fix almost anywhere of where our grounding is anymore. And in a multiplicity of challenges and code red issues, what we really should be focusing on that would give not only meaning to our lives, but some kind of efficacy to how we ensure the continuity of the human species, just simply creating internal coherence in a conscious way through breathing might be among the most important things that we can do. And that's why every day we breathe together as one. So welcome to Humanity Rising, everyone. We're going to take 10 breaths together, starting with the sound of a bell. Welcome. Thank you, everyone. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Shonali Rajaratnam, who is the visionary founder of Power of Women and a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We Are the Hope. She's passionate about unleashing the power of women in our world. She has had many achievements in the domain of edutainment and bringing the educational and entertainment domains together in a way that inspires and empowers people. She and I had the good fortune of meeting through Rotary International, in which she's involved. So I want to just note that and want to welcome Shonali, you to Humanity Rising around how we unleash the power of women in our time.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison, for having Power of Women and myself and Ashley. Good question. Unleashing the power of women. I think that's what we are going to be talking about today. Hopefully, we can get the audience to be involved as well. I think talking about unleashing the power of women, first of all, we need to understand how powerful we are so we can step into our greatness as women, and men recognizing the importance of women. I have my partner Ashley as well. Ashley, you can join, and I know we have a program planned for everyone, so.
Yes, thanks, Shonali. Hello, everyone. My name's Ashley. I'm also part of Power of Women. And today, for our presentation, we will kick off the presentation with the video that features Shonali's remarks at the UN CSW 67th session. During consultation day. So we'll show you a short clip on that, followed by the performance of the Power of Women Anthem. And then we will, Shonali will speak a little bit more about the power of women and the creative process behind the Power of Women Anthem and the inspiration. And we'll go into how we go about, what our approach is to unleashing the power of women. And then I'll follow with some sentiments as well. And then we'll present some PowerPoints that will lead you and show you how you can contribute and join the movement.
Thank you. And I think Stan and George, we can go into the video that we were invited, like Ashley said, for NGO CSW representing the civil society for Commission on the Status of Women's 67th session.
Welcome. We are a part of a very special moment in history today. The Power of Women Anthem represents the symbolic transition that embraces and accepts our power as mothers, daughters, sisters, and queens. In the women's movement, this marks a pivotal moment, ushering in a golden age of solutions. While we have long demanded equality, we believe it is time to transcend from being silent leaders of society and step into the power we innately possess as women. In the Power of Women movement, we are not striving to create a world where women are simply equal to men, but one where women are recognized and celebrated for the unique strengths and perspectives we bring to the world. Every person here has a mother. Whether she's present or not in your life right now, it was this woman who gave you your first breath of life. We recognize that men play an integral role in this movement. There's a balance to everything in this world. It is therefore important that men participate and support this journey towards a more equitable and just world. It is time to bring forth a world where women stand as the foundational pillars of a value-based society with wellness as the focal point. In our movement, The Power of Women Anthem represents a new era of women's empowerment, where we stand up and claim our rightful place as leaders and agents of change in our communities as well as in the world. Moving forward, we commit to supporting and uplifting one another, holding the space so that women from all backgrounds, cultures, and identities can truly unite in true sisterhood. Together, we can create a world where all people are treated with dignity, respect, and equality. We understand that we may not have all the answers right now, that the world is in a very turbulent and dark space. However, together, we can be the point of light that enables us to find the solutions we so desperately need. This is by being receptive and open to fresh perspectives through a collaborative process. By stepping into our innate power as daughters, sisters, mothers, and queens, we automatically extend the space for other women and men to do the same. The time has come. Let's stand together in compassion, love, and solidarity to ring in a new golden age of solutions for humanity by harnessing the power of women to lead change. Remember, if not us, then who? Thank you.
Like Shonali said, if not us, then who? We didn't come this far to not reach the stars. The Power of Women Anthem is produced by our dear brothers, Lars Halvor Jensen and Thomas Barso of OC Hit, a record label and artist development program in Newport Beach. You're about to meet 7 of their talents right now, performing Power of Women alongside the Agape Band and the Agape Choir. So please welcome on stage, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Simone, Bailey D. White, Sydney Noel, Chloe Subia, Taylor Lake, Ellie Sufi, and Brianna Bella. Ladies and gentlemen, the Power of Women Anthem.
We're the ones who are gonna flip the page. achieve anything. We're the ones who are gonna make the change. We're the ones who are gonna flip the page. We're the black rings in the water. We got the power. 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 Oh, tonight we're gonna rise. Our names in from the sky, so they'll know. The power of women.
Thank you, Stan and George, for sharing that. And I'm just reading some of the chats in here. Thank you, Shannon, Bridget, David. I feel like there's so much love coming through. Thank you so much. And we would really we wanted to do a poll. Two things. We couldn't share the demo video because of legal issues. So we will show it during the after chat. And thank you, Kathleen. How did you all feel in one word? If you can answer in one word how you felt. The video will be more powerful that we will share. Inspired, powerful, moved. And possible, yes. Wow, uplifted, moving, joyous, impressed. Thank you. So there's so confident, tearful. Oh my God, this is exactly how we want you all to feel. Wow, we have so many answers that we are getting. Encouraged, grateful, determined, hopeful, strong and dignified. Yes, I think that's from the chat alone, I feel like we can tell it's a very elevated group of audience we have here. So we are very honored. I know Ashley and I are very honored to be here talking to all of you today, sharing what we are doing. And one of the things I want to make note of is we are too young to be millennials, but too old to be Gen Z. The generation before us was introduced to the internet. Generation after us grew into the internet. We are the only generation that grew up with the internet and really got a sense of what it's like to be outside the internet and grow up with it. So we have stepped forward as younger millennials, older Gen Z, so zillennials, I would say, to really take a stance because we are the bridge that is really talking to the generations before us to get the advice and connect with the younger generations to really, again, unleash the power of women. And Shannon, I want to recognize you said maybe harness is not the right word. You're right. And that's one of the things we are addressing with Power of Women. Before I go into what our mission is, what we are doing, and what the anthem is intended to do, the creative process. We are in a place in the world where we need to redefine some words, redefine concepts. Two of our favorite quotes by Einstein are, definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And you cannot solve a problem from the same mindset it was created from. So keeping those two quotes in mind, we live in a patriarchal society that goes without a say. The word history itself says his story. Before less than 100 years ago, women were not really allowed to take part in narrating the story, narrating his story. So the perspective was not absent, whether in writing books, painting, just in various forms of media, women's voices were not very prominent. So we have arrived to a place where there's an imbalancement. of women's voices, whether it's in leadership positions or decision-making processes. And the power of women is about really us women, because I'm a daughter. I speak as a daughter. I love my parents. I have a mother and a father who I am deeply connected to. I'm a sister. I have a very good relationship with my brother, whom I love and adore, and his wife. I'm a sister again, and I'm a friend. My best friend and I, we have been friends for more than half of each other's life. And I come from a very real position as a woman who is playing these roles in society. What is unleashing the power of women? Again, like I said, 100 years ago, we didn't really have a lot of rights, and generations before us had to really go through a battle, through a process of fighting for voting rights, to being able to go to college, to so much. But looking back from that day to today in 2023, we are not in the same position. Things have changed. We are not in a position, in the Western world at least, to constantly keep demanding for equality, because we have so much already. So it's a matter of changing perspectives. When you change perspectives, your reality is experienced differently. So how can we change our perspective from demanding equality to stepping into the power we already possess? And that is what the anthem is doing. The anthem is not meant to be an overnight hit. It's not meant to be a one-hit wonder. It's a process of taking the next couple of years to really be a conversation starter for women and men to come together and really discuss what is the power of women, how the role women play in the world, because we are 50% of this population. And one of the examples I love to use is in 1975, to answer to what Dr. Jim asked earlier during the start of Humanity Rising, how do we unleash the power of women, and how can women really make a difference? In Iceland in 1975, women decided to go on strike, and every woman to step out of their house without working to show how much they contribute. And it was a very successful strike, because when all the women stepped out, men realized, oh my God, we cannot actually go on without women doing what they do. And something we do believe as well, women are so critical. We are the mothers that give birth to every single human being on the planet. So whether you're a king or you're a janitor, you're just a person who is working a regular job, a doctor, we all come out of a female, a woman. So keeping that in mind, without a woman, we cannot even be here. And looking at it from another perspective is, women cannot have children without men. We need our male counterpart to play this role, what we are here to do as humans on Earth. And it's really important as strong women, when women step into their power and realize, oh, wow, we are the mothers, we are the daughters, we are the sisters, the stability in family, we can recognize the importance of men, the role men play, because without men, we cannot have children. That's one. And there's no true equality if all stakeholders are not involved in the process of actually working together to bring balance, working together in harmony, to really find solutions together by collaborating. So that's one of the main things we take into account. And when you look at what is creating these gender imbalancements, it's basically music, media, and entertainment that has been narrating our story in the past that gives us this perspective of what social norms are. Because being a woman is a very sociological concept. It's sociology. Being a female is biology, because a woman is defined very different in different parts of the world. So taking into account, women have a role to play based on their sex, which is whether they're a female or a male. And what is that assigned gender role. Especially in the Western world, we have a lot more liberty to go to school versus some developing countries. Women don't have that within the context of the role they play as a woman. So keeping all of this in mind, that's why we decided to focus on edutainment, which is the silent reinforcer of societal norms. How can we really shift the way storytelling is done currently, broaden the narrative of history by sharing her story so we can really know our story together? That is going to be playing a huge role in terms of edutainment, Shannon. Yes, learning made fun. And I'll share a link as well. The World Bank, let me actually share it. I had put it aside. The World Bank defines edutainment as, I'll actually read the definition. As World Bank defines edutainment, short for entertainment education, is the use of entertainment media with educational and development objectives. Edutainment can take the form of movies, television shows, documentaries, social media campaigns, music, gaming, and etc. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing that. I'll just share the easy link. Why are we taking the route of edutainment? There are 5.4 billion television viewers, according to the research conducted by World Bank, and over 5 billion smartphone users and 1.6 billion Facebook daily active users. So with the internet and mobile revolution rapidly increasing the access to across the globe, there's an unprecedented opportunity for us to positively impact billions of lives. The World Bank, this article, if you read it, it shows how edutainment can actually impact behavioral change, long-lasting behavioral change, and introduce new norms, new characteristics, and so forth. So that is what the route we are taking with edutainment, to give women the opportunity to tell more stories. But that doesn't mean it's just stories about women, but women sharing their perspective. So that way, there's a concept, women don't leave like a mother doesn't leave anybody behind. Women have this innate quality, this feminine quality of not leaving anybody behind. Even just going back to the discussion that was happening yesterday, mothers are the most important because they raise the next generation. We all have a mother. So how can we empower? Even when we are talking about war in Ukraine or any war for that matter, mothers do have a say because they gave birth to children. And is this why we are here on earth? To go to war or live a life of humans where there's peace and well-being for all, so we can enjoy this human life. So just the power of women, unleashing the power of women using the anthem, the edutainment component, re-narrating our storytelling, like Shannon, like I said, redefining concepts and terms. So we are not trying to solve a problem from the same mindset it was created from. And something I want to acknowledge, we don't have all the answers right now. That is needless to say. But together, when we create a safe space for everybody to come together, we can collaborate, we can learn from best practices, what is working. We don't have to work in silos. We can come together, have an open discussion. We are not too sensitive by certain words, because I really love how Shannon said, harnessing is not the right word, maybe unleashing, but she's open to what we can discuss and move forward with. So that's a very important quality to have, being receptive, being able to recognize the importance in another person and giving respect, and operating from a place of love, bringing balance with an intention, a shared mission for humanity. like I said, what do we all want? Asking ourselves the questions. What are we all looking for deep down? Whether it's to make $1 billion or to be the most famous person or to have a number of houses, to just being a simple person. What is it that we are looking at as our end goal with all these? It's peace of mind and well-being. So how can we foster a culture of peace and well-being with the work we are doing? So I just wanted to give a quick overview. I hope I didn't miss anything. Ashley, do you want to jump in and share some thoughts and whatnot?
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Shanali. And just going off of what Shanali said, what we find is that a very foundational and critical piece to achieving peace and well-being on our planet at this point in time is recognizing the critical roles that women play in our society. And I would like to give you more examples as far as how women's contributions are shaping the global economy, how they're shaping our societies. There's a lot of focus on the demanding equality, which is, of course, there's a long way to go as far as where we want to be and what our objectives are. But it's important that we recognize how far we've come along and contributing that to the power that we already possess, as Shanali said, as mothers, daughters, sisters, queens, and foundational contributors to society. And that's what we're doing with Power of Women. It's really amplifying those stories, amplifying the women that have shaped history, although maybe not as apparent, because maybe there aren't a lot of records in history. But that's what we're bringing with what we're doing, and also tying it into music, media, and entertainment, as Shanali said, the silent reinforcers of society, to shape how we are defining the societal norms. And so a couple of examples that come to mind as far as how women's contributions have shaped our society today. Of course, we have all gone through the pandemic, and what some studies showed were that, so there was a study that was comprised of 194 countries that found that pandemic responses were systematically better in countries led by women. And data also shows that COVID-19 deaths were lower in states with a female governor. During the first quarter of the pandemic, an assessment of managers in corporate America also found that women leaders scored significantly higher on the 13 of 19 competencies. And female managers scored higher in motivating employees, taking initiatives, developing others, and communicating powerfully. And in relation to just like the climate change, examples of women stepping into their power have been demonstrated around the world. Some examples are, for instance, in Bangladesh, women developed wind and flood-resistant housing foundations for their communities. A group of women in rural Sudan formed the first ever women's farmers union to improve food security in their communities facing drought and famine. And then as hurricanes have become more severe and prevalent, Indigenous women in Nicaragua, for instance, were motivated to create seed banks to protect biodiversity, creating sustainable livelihoods that are not dependent upon industrialized agriculture. And after a hurricane that tore through Puerto Rico, 2 women partnered together to rebuild more than 300,000 homes left severely damaged across the island by repurposing shipping containers. And local women around the Pacific Islands have established media networks and monitoring groups to broadcast the impacts of climate change in Fiji to the world. And so these are just some examples of the power of women to showcase a unique knowledge and skill set that allows communities to recover more quickly and more effectively. So when we talk about unleashing the power of women, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're amplifying. Taking a very solution-driven approach and a fresh perspective. This is how we're going to change the world. And so that's what we're doing with edutainment. It's really showcasing these pieces and these stories of women all over the world that are already enabling change and creating sustainable structures for a better economy, for a better society. Really showcasing these pieces in such a creative and engaging way that it inspires other women across the world to also harness, or not harness, but unleash that power within themselves, to realize their contributions in their families, to realize, how effective they can be and they are in their communities. And that's our approach to creating a world where there's more peace and well-being.
Thank you, Ashley. I love the examples you shared, as this is the power of women. Because this is the power of women, we demand something we don't have. But we are already so powerful. Like, when you really ask ourselves, the resilience women have, childbirth is known as one of the most painful processes a human being can go. But women do this every single day, every single minute. So knowing, one of the things, like Ashley said, what do we want to do as relatively a younger generation? How can we be a point of light to remind other women of the power and greatness they possess within themselves? Be a daughter figure, be a friend figure, be a sister. How can we be there? And together we're so strong. I mean, some of the stats I want to actually share as well. Can you imagine, globally, women contribute 12.5 billion hours of unpaid care work daily. So when we are talking about unleashing the power of women or realizing the power of women, that's 12.5 billion hours of unpaid care work women are contributing to their families. And 70% of the global health and social care workforce comprised of women. So for any global crisis, women are at the forefront of nurturing, providing care, providing service like a mother figure. I mean, just to think of these numbers, and we are looking at the global economy, and which we will talk about our next upcoming initiative, which is a Power of Women Global Digital Conference in parallel to the G20 event. Again, why are we doing it? Because there are 20 world leaders meeting, and only 2 of them are women out of 20. So we're talking about half of the population being represented by 2 women at the G20 summit, which is responsible for architecting the global economy, discussing the next steps moving forward. So if women had more of a say, if women can represent women and their needs, whether it comes to women's health, education, it's very different and it's very beautiful. Being a woman is a beautiful experience, just like it is to be a man. And once just this, I mean, I have a lot more stats I could provide. But even the climate action, environment action, like Ashley said, women constitute of 43% of agricultural workforce. Why are women not involved in how even food management happens? Women are so good at managing. I mean, especially in developing countries, if you give a woman a bag of rice and tell her, hey, you have to manage this for the next month, she will figure out a way to manage that bag of rice for a month and feed her children. So kind of like when we say the word harnessing, how can we tap into the wisdom, experience, expertise of women to really, because right now the environment is not in a place where it should be. Global economy. I mean, the processes, there's so much anxiety, depression. When women are not doing well, mothers are not doing well, we really cannot expect children to grow up in a healthy environment where well-being is the focal point. But if we empower mothers then go ahead and can teach the sons and daughters, because we really have to realize mothers have so much power, whether we know it or not. I'm not a mother yet, but I know the power my mother has as a mother, and I'm her daughter. So how can a mother be empowered or given the tools, the resources to teach their sons and daughters how to treat each other, how a girl should really own up to herself without feeling discouraged in a world where that is currently not accepted rather. So how can we re-narrate this story? And I want to reiterate some of the mission points that I actually have written down as well. Power of Women is about elevating and inspiring women across generations, across races, geographies, to embrace and step into their innate power and step into their innate greatness. I love some of the chats the chat that's happening, by the way. I want to acknowledge it as well. And the second point is, how can we bring together a global audience through the curation of engaging content, events, and experiences, incorporating music, media, and entertainment? And I think all of us could agree, music has the power to get to your soul, no matter what language you speak, what gender you are, what identity you go by, whatever it is, music has a way of speaking to people. So how can we utilize music to really find that balance? Because I mean, one of my favorite things to think about is it's the same 7 notes you send across the world. You get so many different variations of music. So how can we use music as the connecting point and not I don't want to use this word, it's a heavy word, but let's not demonize the opposite sex. Let's not look at men as the problem or the toxic masculinity. How about we create a safe space as women sitting at their throne in their power, create a space men can join the conversation, have open discussions without feeling judged or criticized, openly share and learn with each other, learn and grow. Growth is such an important key component in this process of collaborating, recognition, respect, growth, and being solution-driven, because that's one of the key things about Power of Women. We know the world is not in a good place. I mean, we can continue saying this is not working, that is not working, but eventually we have to take a different approach and see how can we now look at what's not working and what can work. Start thinking, what does even Power of Women look like? Having this supposed demanding equality, what does that look like in a society? Can we start imagining that? How does that look as an individual? And for all the fathers, the brothers, the sons, every single one of us is a daughter or a son. How can we think of in terms of our mother? Or as a man, how can you think as a son for your mother, as a brother for your sister, as a father for your daughter, and really be a part of this movement, not to divide, but to come together in unity, in solidarity, for a common shared vision, a vision for well-being of the psychology, well-being of the physical body, well-being of our spiritual grounding, social well-being, that's our relationships with each other, our economical, our emotional well-being, our most importantly, our environmental well-being, because we can have all the money in the world, but if we don't have a place to live, a healthy earth, what's the point of all that money? So just taking well-being as a core and building a culture of peace, fostering a culture of peace, being peacekeepers, changing the mindset to seeing the solutions, things are changing. There is hope. We have stepped forward. Join us. Be with us. Be a mother figure, sister figure, aunt figure, whatever that may be. Work with us to really do this together, because it's all hands on deck time, and we need every single one of us to work together. So that's the way we can bring the power of women to lead change, because we need a new way to approach solutions. We need a new perspective. So all men and women need to work together to elevate women so that perspective can shine through. And our first project is the Power of Women Anthem, that is really meant to touch your heart. And remember, you are capable of doing anything you set your mind to. Impossible in itself says possible. And together we are unstoppable. When our mothers, our daughters, I mean, these relationships come together, and my best friend is an inspiration and a testament for that. And even the anthem and Power of Women coming to be, we had such incredible men be a part of it. For example, my brother was able to conceive the words Power of Women. Two men, two Danish producers, Lars Jansen and Thomas Basso from OC Hit, they were able to take my passion and my words and Power of Women's mission and turn it into an anthem that we can share with the world. So I think just sharing all of that, we want you to be a part of it. Please share your ideas. This is, like I said, we don't have all the answers, but together we will be able to figure it out. And we have created that safe space for you to take part. Your voice is valued. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man or however you identify, your voice is valued. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And Ashley?
Beautiful. I want to address something on the chat that Marilyn said. Women's inability to achieve solidarity and to support each other has stood in the way of exercising power. Too many women have brought in on the patriarchal paradigm of competition.
I love that.
This is a very interesting one, and I can only speak on behalf of my experience. And also drawing from my experience working in the corporate world. But what Shonali and I bring to Power of Women is not only a working relationship, but a friendship, a friendship that's founded on values and principles that I do believe we don't see enough in women-to-women relationships, that we are shedding light on through edutainment. The power of women coming together to work cohesively for a shared mission for humanity and for the benefit of ourselves, our communities, our families, and society in general. We are really trying to capture that essence through the music pieces and through the entertainment. Speaking on my relationship with Shonali, I've known her over half of my life, and I am always so uplifted and empowered by this relationship that I have with her, and it's fueled my growth and transformational process. And so why I bring this up is because this is how we unleash the power within. It's by forming these relationships that fuel our growth and transformation, by being receptive to feedback, by being receptive to opening the heart and receiving that trust that others want to place on you, and you being trusting of the other person. Really bringing these elements into play, I think, is very essential, so that we don't have these competitions. You see that a lot in the workplace, especially with not enough women in leadership roles. There tends to be that competition component of climbing to the top at all, without regards for anybody else. So with Power of Women, that's what we're bringing. We're bringing that compassion. We're bringing that nurturing element, that inclusiveness. Nobody gets left behind when women lead. And it's based off of respect. It's based off of compassion and love, and prosperity for all of us. And again, we lead with trust, we lead with respect, and we're open and receptive to collaborating together, because this is what fuels our growth.
Thank you, Ashley. And I really agree with you. And I want to add something to Marilyn's question as well. You're right, Marilyn, there's so much competition, and that's the narrative that we have been fed into as well, to be competitive. I feel like in the old way of thinking, there's one seat, so all the women fight for that one seat at the table, as opposed to thinking, hey, why don't I make it to the seat and open up more seats for my other sisters? And that's a way of empowering, instead of thinking, oh, there's only one seat, we all have to fight for it. And one of my favorite examples is my brother's wife, who I consider to be a sister to me. I'm Sri Lankan, and typically the narrative has always been, hey, you're either competitive with your sister-in-law, or there's not a good relationship. Like it's a relationship to be navigated. But I feel like my sister gave a completely different perspective of it. And I think because I have such a great relationship with her, she's like my own sister, that my brother doesn't even get involved. So how can we normalize these relationships, that there are relationships that are good? My best friend and I, she has been such a source of upliftment, have been there for me always. I mean, I never experienced competition or jealousy from my best friend, who is the same. We are the same age. She always went above and beyond to push me further. And I hope I have done the same for you. It has always been a relationship of growth, which is the reason why we said, hey, the current narrative of women, certain songs women sing about each other, doesn't resonate with us. This narrative doesn't resonate with us. Let's normalize what's true to us. We know how much it can propel us forward. So let's talk about it through Power of Women. Let's normalize it through media. So just to answer that competition, and how can we normalize it with media, these relationships, to reduce competition and growth, support, love, kindness, like the anthem says. And I know there are so many questions.
I think right now we can maybe I can share my screen, and we can talk more about what we have, our upcoming event that we are getting ready for, which is the digital conference. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah, that will be our next steps, and we want all of you to please be a part of it. Once Ashley shares, I'll chime in as well. I like this, Judy. Wow. That was then, this is now. That's a very powerful statement.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Shanali, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yes.
Okay, great. So as Shanali mentioned, this is a movement that inspires women across generations, races, and geographies to recognize and embrace this and step into their innate power. And we are inviting everybody to collaborate across boundaries to forge these harmonious alliances where men stand as those unwavering pillars of support and stand in solidarity with us, so that together we can achieve that balance and unity. And as our creative vehicle, we are using edutainment to inspire, educate, and empower a global audience. And as we talked about earlier, the Power of Women Anthem is that catalyst for exploration and discussion. When you listen to this anthem, your heart opens up. You are receptive to collaborating with one another, to fostering this sense of innate power and purpose, and really feeling that you play such a critical role to your families, to your societies, to the environment. And this is what we're doing with our edutainment pieces. And then we would like to talk a little bit about the Digital PAL conference that we're hosting and organizing, that's going to run parallel to the G20 summit at September.
I want to add a few things about it. This is what we mentioned about the G20. We're going to have about 40, it's a 24-hour programming for 2 days, September 8th and 9th. And we are already talking to some very significant global women leaders and men to come together to really go from a solution-driven perspective and have everybody's voice heard. So using certain digital technologies to get the polling so everybody can answer and share their opinion, voices. So we want you to be a part of it. So one of the things is please register. It's in September. At least join for a few sessions. And if you want to contribute in terms of collaborating with us to be a part of it, whether you have topics, speakers that you want to suggest, please do. We are going for, we want to normalize women in leadership positions and have their voice be heard. So please connect with us. We want you to be a part of this. This is us. This is our movement. Even though it's called Power of Women, when women are doing well, everybody's doing well. So just want to leave that.
And you can actually scan this QR code. It will take you to the registration page so that you can register to attend the conference. And these are our Conscious Committee advisors that are helping organize the digital conference. We have Marilyn King, who is a two-time, Shonali, if I'm not mistaken, Olympian. We have Mr. David Wick, who is president of Pathways to Peace. We have Dr. Sonia, who is also a part of our Conscious Committee. We have Sister Dr. Jenna. We have Dr. Anil. We have Gary, who is a Grammy-winning composer. And we have Ms. Tezekiah, who's also with Pathways to Peace.
I want to add for Gary, he's a 7-time Emmy-winning composer.
Yes.
But yeah, they have accomplished so much more than that 1 or 2 lines we shared. They're incredible. We are open to having more of you coming and volunteering with us, supporting us, contributing, donating, however you can support us. We are open. We need all of you. It's all hands on deck time. I keep repeating, but we need all of you. So Ashley.
Yes, so it's an invitation to unite and collaborate. The conference is really that step that we are taking to bring all sectors together so that we can collaborate with one another to really see the different perspectives that are playing out in the world and not working in silos, now coming together in unison to be solution driven, to take a different approach, to broaden our narrative, to create a unitive narrative. So we are asking all of you to please join the conference, whether that's registering and being a part of the conversation, or also contributing to be a speaker. I know that there are a lot of speakers here. So if you would like to share your expertise, insights, and stories to inspire and educate, we invite you to submit your proposal. You can actually scan the QR code here, and proposal deadlines are the deadline is June 21st. And we're also looking for volunteers. You can contribute your time and skills to support the conference. You can sign up by scanning the code as well. And you can help inspire women worldwide to step into their power. And it's a calling. This is a new way of attaining prosperity. It's not just for ourselves, but it's for the benefit of everybody. And this is rooted in the highest values of service to the whole. And as a contributor, you also have the power to create a sustainable future for everyone. And we invite you to join us in this movement. We're also in the process of seeking for sponsors and impact investors. And we're also looking for contributions to the Power of Women movement through donations, so that you can help fund these impactful programs and initiatives, such as the edutainment pieces that we're putting together. And currently our goal is to raise $250,000 to support POW's programs and initiatives and operating costs. So if you would like to make a tax deductible donation, you can actually scan the QR code and you'll be directed to our secure online donation portal.
Thank you. And just to add a few more things, Ashley, can you go back one? Another one. Yeah, like I said, Power of Women is more than just a calling. This is what we have to do. This is the next step of our evolution as humanity. This is the expansion of consciousness that's happening. So it's a matter of us being receptive to new ways of approaching this. Let's come together. Let's talk. We are very receptive to what you have to share. We request you to take a solution-driven approach. It's easy to criticize, but constructive criticism is the best, because that means there's a way forward instead of just criticizing. By the way, I think the email that went out today was not the correct email. It was from yesterday, Sharon. Just wanted to make that notes, but we really want you to be a part of it. Your time is invaluable to us. Any contribution you want to do, whether it's resources in kind, you want to connect us with anybody, any company, any organization, please do so. Any contributions, they are tax deductible, because Power of Women is an initiative of We Are the Hope Foundation. It's a nonprofit 501c3. So please find a way to be a part of it. And lastly, spread the word. Whether you have a podcast, a radio show, a newsletter, or simply word of mouth, if you can spread the word. We want more young voices our age, because we are open to all generations. We want all of you to be a part of it. Share your thoughts. This is our movement. Always remember, we are stepping forward now. And with that being said, thank you so much for all the beautiful comments that we are getting. And I would like to invite Dr. Garrison whenever you're ready to hop in. But I hope we shared a lot of information for you all to think about.
You did indeed. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Shanali, very much. It's so good to just be bathed in your exuberance and your enthusiasm for what it is that you're doing. And in fact, I'd like to start there, because I just want to note your youth. And, you know, I think there's a particular potency in the Gen Zs coming up. You said you were sort of between the millennials and the Gen Zs, but I know one of the real inspirations in the United States is the way the Gen Zs are now coming into power in state legislatures in the US Congress. both men and women, and having a real dramatic impact on the rhetoric, if nothing else, with which they're addressing challenges and organizing themselves around social justice and the elimination of violence, domestic violence, and of course the war in Ukraine. And so I wanted to just probe that a little bit more and ask you, as members of that cohort, is there a particular way that you as women, in particular as very young women, are looking at these issues in contrast, for example, with your mothers or grandmothers? Is there kind of a new energy that you are bringing in because of your youth?
I can go first, Ashley. I love that question. I think the fact that we have gone through so many advancements since our mother's generation to grandmother's generation, we are equipped with so many tools, resources, and there's so much knowledge. We live in an information era, and it's almost a crime with this much information and awareness if we don't do anything. Especially with the access to, we don't have to be in a studio together right now with all these wonderful people, audience joining from around the world. We are in the comfort of wherever we are, home, office, and we are still connecting. We are still able to get a message from here to Chile. I know I saw somebody from Chile. That's how fast it is.
Yeah.
With this kind of access and this kind of knowledge, and the energy that comes with being more in the younger generation, if not us, then who? If we don't really step up, who are we waiting on? Because it doesn't seem like anybody's going to come forth unless we actually get up and do something and get everybody else who has the same urge to come together and take this forward.
Yeah, and I want to add, just speaking on experience, Shanali and I, what was it, last week, we actually went to the Senate building in DC, and we had such a eye-opening experience to come and find out the people who are behind the scenes, who are actually working on gathering information and advising on policies. They are people in our generation who are behind the scenes, who are proposing policies and change. And when we went and talked about Power of Women, we were welcomed with such receptivity and such open mind that it gives a lot of hope as far as what the future holds for humanity.
It's true.
Wow.
It's true.
You had that experience in the U.S. Congress. Tell us more.
We were at the Senators building. We had a few meetings scheduled. Parties doesn't really move us as much as the doing and the intention behind what needs to get done. You will find it so surprising that women are doers. They want to get things done, especially when women are leading as senators. They're about how do we get things done. And one of the things we, like Ashley said, it was such a beautiful thing to see. It was our generation, and we realized we are the bridge. We have to be the bridge to even go speak to the more younger generation, younger Gen Zers. Because we are, like I said, we don't fall in either. We are in between. So we have to play that bridge role. And to see when we met so many people our age, so much energy. And they're like, yeah, we have to step forward. And thank you for doing what you're doing. We are here. So it's beautiful to see that.
Well, there's just a question in the chat about how old you are, because I think it's normally impolite to ask a woman how old she is, but since this is generational, the Gen Zs are typically qualified as people born after 2000. So you're in your 20-somethings, right?
we're in our late 20s. I think the Gen Z, I would even say it starts as early as 1998, because there are so many articles done, and millennials start with 1980. So we were born in the 1990s, and it doesn't really, we don't really 100% resonate with what happened in the 1980s growing up. We were toddlers in the 90s. So it's a very interesting dynamic to, I mean, it's an interesting place to be in, because
The
we
cusp.
can,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know, there's no doubt that the late millennials and Gen Zs are bringing in an energy that is profoundly shaped by technology. You're the first generation that's been born in the internet.
We grew up with the internet, actually.
Yeah.
We grew up with it.
Yeah. And I think that is really going to be a powerful component in the way you view the world and in your ability to connect easily and instantly through technology. But all the polling is showing that, at least that I've seen on this, on the Gen Zs, let's say late millennials, Gen Zs, is they're even more acutely aware of social issues than the millennials. The polling around the millennials has largely been a generation that was aware but motivated very deeply by interior growth and development. The Gen Zs seem to be like we were in the 1960s, highly proactive about changing the world. And you see that in the Gen Zs in politics all around, certainly the United States. They're highly political in the sense that, as you're saying, Shanali, they're all doers. They really want to do stuff in the world because of their acute awareness of not only the crisis, but of their capacity to collaborate over distance in a way that can mobilize concerted action. Now, would you agree with that? That's just sort of general impressions that I have of the polling data, but it seems to resonate with what you're saying.
You know, it's a very interesting subject to actually touch upon, because because again, we cannot generalize the whole generation, but I feel like definitely there's more action. I mean, we have stepped forward. Like I said, we really didn't see anybody showing up, because benevolence leadership is key to a healthy society and the globe in general. And that's lacking right now for us to look up to somebody as a benevolent leader in the world. So we really have to take that approach. How can we inspire each other to be those benevolent leaders in the world? And even in the generation, like I said, because we are the late millennials, we are on the cusp of both generations. So our point of view is very broad. We really recognize, even bringing the wisdom. I think one of the things I realized that's missing with the more younger generations was they're not bringing the wisdom of the older generations. We have to bring that wisdom. We have to carry it forward and integrate it into the new wisdom that we have been exposed to, because that's the way we know where we came from, so we know where we are headed in a way. Knowing the root cause is important, knowing where the seed was planted that went wrong or that went well. Just having that knowledge is critical. And I think that's something we have taken on ourselves, to be leading this movement, this energy, this power of feminine energy that's naturally rising to bring balance. So how can you be a guiding light and do things, create the safe space, so all these incredible social actors like this Gen Zers, everybody can come in a safe space together and be solution driven, more solution oriented, not talking about problems, but let's collaborate, put differences aside. We all have the same needs at the end of the day as humans, and going from that perspective of being doers, doing something. Yeah.
Ashley, you want to add anything?
Yeah, definitely. As Shanali mentioned, being solution driven, the time calls for it. I mean, there isn't time to waste at this point. We see where the world is right now, and with the climate crisis, that we can't go back. It calls for us to take a solution-driven approach. We understand that there's a lot of issues that impact us at an individual, societal, environmental level. But it's time to take action. And I think that's what our generation at least brings. It's, yes, there have been a lot of action. There's a lot of steps that have been taken that have paved the way, but we are now carrying, the baton has been passed to us to carry that on and lead with action and being solution driven. So the time calls for it, and it's about stepping up and hopefully seeing more of the people in our generation stepping up as well in different areas.
And then just a final question about the G20 coming up, because I love the fact that you're not only, releasing a sort of an anthem to empower women, but you're taking very specific political action, in this case around the G20. That's a very audacious endeavor, trying to impact that bunch, particularly with only 2 women leaders present. And you've indicated some of the people that are involved. What's the desired outcome for you?
I can go first again, Ashley. I think very simple in this sense. How can we be a space where women are actually showcased as leaders and their voice? We live in a digital age, by the way. Information goes so fast. Before, we did not have access to even streaming or even knowing these G20 summits were happening because the gap was so wide. But now we're in a digital era. And how can we amplify the voices of women? Bring women leaders to normalize and show these are the women leaders in the world, in tech, power of women in economy, like urban planning, spirituality, in STEM, different groups of women in Olympics, normalizing women doing great things, and also having men be a part of this movement as allies, for them to see we are talking about your mothers, we're talking about your daughters, we're talking about your sisters. Be with us, be a part of the process. And if you're in a power position, what can you do moving forward to change a policy, change the narrative as a man? Because recognizing you are in the power position as of now, in the context of how the global structure is, we realize, hey, now let's work together. And also the third component, our objective is how can we get inspired by this conference, create content, edutainment moving forward, whether it's an animated series, a docu-series, a media post, that normalize this ideology of it's no longer patriarchal society, it's changing, and men are a part of that change. So, and it's not a one-time conference, it's going to be annual. So we will see so much happening, the progress throughout the years. It's just the beginning, and we are here for you, and I hope you're here for us as well. We really have showed up in whatever form that may be. We are here to take this forward.
Ashley.
I just want to pose a question and leave you with that. If we were to ask our nation leaders how the women in their countries contribute to their country's economy and society, what would they say? How would they describe the women in their countries? I think leading with these type of questions will help amplify the voices of women and really unleashing that power of women, I would say. So I would love, if you can put it on your chat, what you would how you would respond to those questions. What do you think that our nation leaders would think about the, different women's in different areas, how they contribute to the economy and society? I think they're very interesting questions.
Well, thank you both. And just as a reflection, as someone who's been at this for far longer than you've been both alive, I would say I appreciate your notion that this upcoming G20 conference will be one of many. Because one things I've learned over time is that, as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it takes generations. And I know, as someone in the 60s, it was a generation. It was the only time in world history where the young men en masse refused to fight in the Vietnam War. And it hasn't happened before, and it's not happened since. And there was a certain optimism that we had that we could change everything. And we managed to fundamentally, including the women's movement, which really burst out in the 60s, bring about a lot of cultural foment and human potential. And many of the things that are now mainstream were initiated in the 60s, but we did not change politics. And one of the great contradictions of the 60s was that John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King were all assassinated. So I came of age at a time of great hope, but also at a time as an American where the lights went out for America politically, and we've been in a demise politically without respite ever since then, that's culminated in Trump and Biden and Ukraine and all the carnage of war. And I think that there's one place where I think the Gen Zs and your generation can take the torch is in something political at a time where radical political changes are necessary for us to save ourselves and accomplish what we could not. And that's something that I know many people of the baby boomer generation have reflected on, is whether the new generation could really take the torch and make the kind of changes at the level of the G20, at the level of the U.S. Congress that we were unable to achieve. And that would give us great solace, knowing that that not only was the torch being passed, but there was something being generated in the human spirit that allowed the kind of proactive social change that could actually change structures. And something like war and economic policy, which to date has not been accomplished by anyone anywhere, if you look around the world. So your task is really a time critical one, I would say, in ways that we didn't even imagine back in the 1960s. But your fortitude of spirit, your exuberance of will really inspires me today. And I really want to thank you and acknowledge everything that you're doing. And so just very, very quickly, starting with you, Ashley, and then you, Shanali, just give us a final word of anything that you want to share with our global audience.
Transformation is taking a hold and spreading its wings. It's leading humanity into the next phase of our evolutionary process and fueling conscious expansion. That's what I'll leave you with.
Brilliant. Transformation is on the move. Shanali.
I, first of all, want to thank you, Dr. Garrison, and all our wonderful audience. Oh my God, the chat was amazing. I'm going to save it to read it, but my last message, I think, Ashley, you said it really well, transformation. Being receptive to new ways of seeing the world, being hopeful, not losing that hope, and always being open for growth through reflection, having respect for one another, love, and being solution driven, always finding a resolution. I mean, we only got one life, and it's on us now. It's us or who else is going to do this. So let's come together. We are here. At least you got two girls and our Power of Women organization, the members, but I know there's more coming, and we are here. And be rest assured, you can have hope. And I know you all give us hope with this beautiful encouragement. Let's take this journey together. It's time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shanali. Thank you, Ashley. You've inspired us and given us deep hope today. And we wish all strength to you in your endeavors. And however we can collaborate and work with the Power of Women, or We Are the Hope, please do. And I hope I've sent an email to you with the women that were on yesterday, hoping that you can collaborate around ending war. So thank you all. Thank you both so much. And that'll bring us to a close, everyone. This has been a wonderful session today. You're all welcome to the after session chat. And you'll see the link in the chat box that Stan has just put in. And then tomorrow, we're going to go to ancient China. And there's a woman from China who's going to lead us into a deeper understanding of that great oracle, the I Ching, and how the I Ching can give us guidance for our challenges today. So that'll be tomorrow on Humanity Rising. But Ashley, Shanali, wonderful session. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.